Hey there, podcast listeners. Welcome back to our show where we dive into the fascinating world of language learning and cultural exchange. I'm your host, Jamie, and today we have an exciting episode lined up for you. We're not just going to talk about English, we're going to explore some practical tips and insights into how to learn and love the language. Joining me today are two fantastic guests.
Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here. English is such a vibrant language, and I can't wait to share some ideas.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to chat about language learning. English has its quirks, but that's part of the fun, right?
Absolutely, James. And before we jump into our conversation, I want to remind our viewers on YouTube to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and leave your questions and comments below. We're here to help you unlock your English potential. So, let's dive in. To start off, Allison, could you tell us about the biggest challenges your students face when learning English?
Of course. One major challenge is the vast vocabulary and the nuances of meanings. English has so many synonyms, idioms, and expressions that it can feel overwhelming. For example, understanding the subtle differences between look, see, and a glance can be confusing for new learners.
That's so true. I remember when I was learning, I was often puzzled by phrases like, kick the bucket, or let the cat out of the bag. They don't make any literal sense, right? But once you understand the context, everything clicks.
Great point, James. Idioms can be tricky. How about you, Allison? Do you have any tips for our listeners on how to tackle vocabulary?
Definitely. I always encourage my students to read extensively, books, articles, or even social media in English. The context gives you clues about usage and meaning. And don't hesitate to keep a vocabulary journal. Write down new words and phrases, and try to use them in sentences.
That's a fantastic strategy. Another tip I would suggest is using flashcards. There are great apps available nowadays that make it easier to learn vocabulary on the go. I even set a daily goal for myself to learn a certain number of words.
Flashcards? That sounds efficient, James. Now, learning English can also be a journey filled with encounters that stretch beyond books, like conversation. Allison, what are your recommendations for speaking practice?
Speaking is often the most intimidating part, but it's incredibly essential. One effective method is to find a language partner or join conversation clubs, whether online or in person. You can practice your speaking skills in a supportive environment. Also, don't be afraid of making mistakes. They're part of the learning process.
Exactly. I think practicing with native speakers is immensely beneficial. You get to hear real-world usage, slang, and even sometimes get corrected in a friendly way. I often use language exchange platforms to connect with others.
So, to summarize,
I found that listening to music, podcasts, and watching movies or TV shows in English helped a lot. I would start with subtitles if I needed them, but over time, I found myself relying on them less and less. It creates an immersive learning experience.
That's a brilliant method. I encourage my students to listen and then try to summarize what they've heard. This not only helps with comprehension but also reinforces vocabulary and sentence structure. Plus, it makes learning enjoyable.
I love that idea. So, it sounds like blending entertainment with learning provides a natural context to acquire language. How about writing? It can often feel daunting for learners. What are some tips for improving writing skills?
I suggest starting with journaling. You can write about your day, your thoughts, or even descriptions of things around you. The key is to write regularly. Additionally, there are online communities where you can share your writing and get constructive feedback.
And I think reading also plays a crucial role in writing. The more you expose yourself to different writing styles, the better you get at structuring your own sentences. You can even try rewriting paragraphs from your favorite books in your own words.
That's a creative tip, James. So far, we've covered reading, writing, listening, and speaking. What about grammar, a topic that many learners sometimes dread? do you have any advice on how to approach grammar?
Grammar can be daunting, but I recommend not overthinking it initially. Focus on understanding the essence of grammar rather than memorizing rules. Books and online resources can simplify complex grammar points, and practice exercises can help reinforce them.
Exactly. And I often tell my friends not to get discouraged if they make grammatical errors while speaking. Communication is the goal, right? The more you practice speaking and writing, the more instinctual the grammar becomes.
Such valuable insights. Now, there are also cultural aspects intertwined with language learning. How important is it for learners of English to understand cultural references in their studies?
It's crucial. Language is a reflection of culture, and many expressions or phrases make much more sense when you understand the cultural context. I recommend immersing yourself in traditions, customs, and current events in English-speaking countries.
Plus, engaging with communities online, like social media groups or forums, can expose you to live discussions and contemporary slang. You will learn to navigate the language in its real values, something textbooks often miss.
That's an interesting point, James. Understanding cultural nuances enriches your language experience. Before we wrap up, what final piece of advice would you both give to someone who has just started learning English?
Remember that learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. Celebrate your small victories, stay patient, and the most important thing is to enjoy the journey. You'll be surprised at how far you can go when you have fun with it.
I'd like to add.
Wonderful advice to conclude our discussion. Thank you, Allison and James, for sharing your insights and tips on learning English. I hope our listeners found this conversation enlightening and motivating. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us comments, and let us know your language learning stories. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on future English learning content. Stay positive, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.